So excellent work creating your new blog with Gatsby for the front end and Sanity for the structured content. Hi, I'm Knut. I'm a developer advocate at Sanity. For the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to show you how this project fits together, how to download and spin it up locally, how to customize it, and how to deploy those changes to Netlify. So in this example, we have Gatsby, a React-based front-end framework that connects to Sanity's hosted backend. We also have something called the Sanity Studio. And Sanity Studio is a single-page application built in React. You can host it anywhere. We are hosting it on Netlify for you. And the studio also connects to the hosted real-time backend. And Sanity is a great way to deliver content quickly to all sorts of digital products, not just blogs. Content is always available through the APIs. Let's get started by looking at the blog. So we have deployed two web applications for you on Netlify. We have the front end, and this is your blog front end, and it's pretty minimal. You can change it to whatever you want. And then we have the Sanity Studio. And the first thing you see is the dashboard. And here you have some useful widgets. You have a feed where you can learn more about how to customize this. You probably have already used that feed if you see this video. You have some shortcuts to edit your content. You have a Netlify widget where you can see the build status for your Netlify sites, and you can trigger them manually. You have some project users. You can invite more users to your project if you want. Recent blog posts, and some project info for all your API endpoints. Before we download the code, let's take a look at the desk tool where all your content is. So here you have settings, and this is typically SEO stuff like a title and description. You have some blog posts, of course, and the usual stuff. You have a slug, you have publish date, a main image, and some rich text at the bottom. You also have authors if you want to have support for more than one author, and some categories if you want some taxonomy stuff. And what's cool with this interface is that this is fully customizable. You can configure the fields and types, and you can even insert your own React components if you want. It's pretty flexible. I will use the terminal for the Git stuff. You are, of course, free to use whatever Git tool you want. I will copy this. I'll go into the terminal and write git clone and the Git address. I will go into this folder. And we have made it so that you can just run npm install on the root folder and install all the dependencies for both the studio and the front end. So now we have installed the dependencies, and now we can start both the front end and the studio at the same time by typing in npm run dev and hitting enter. So now we have the Gatsby and the studio running, and Gatsby is running on localhost 8000 and the studio is running on localhost 4x3. So let's open those in the browser. So this is the studio running locally. And this is the Gatsby front end running locally. And Gatsby also have an internal GraphQL API. And if you want to test queries, you can open this GraphQL IDE in the browser as well. And it looks like this. Now let's open a code editor and take a closer look at the code. I will go back to the terminal and I will split this terminal window in two. I will use my favorite code editor, which is VS Code, but you should of course use whatever you want. So I will open this folder, writing code dot. So here we have the same folders that you saw in the GitHub repo. We have the studio code and the front-end web code for Gatsby. Let's just see if this works. So this is my local Gatsby running, and let's see what's going on here. We have a couple of files. We have a source folder, and here we have some pages. We have an index page, That's probably this page that we see. And here we have a GraphQL query. And here we have the front-end HTML code or JSX code. And we can see that we have a hidden h1 here. So if we want to go ahead and show that h1, we just remove the hidden attribute and hit save. And this should instantly reload with the code change. And here we can see, welcome to my new blog. So let's say that we want to add a subtitle to this front page. So the first thing we have to do is to add a subtitle field in the studio so we can have some data, some content for it. And then we will implement that new field in this front end. So let's go into the studio code. The fields and the content types is configured in the schemas folder. And if we open the schema file, we can see how all the different schemas are imported into the studio. And here we have an array. And if you have poked around in the desk tool, you probably recognize some of these names. And we can open the studio here and go to the settings type. And let's open this site settings JS field and look at what's going on. Here we have some plain JavaScript objects. We have a name, title, type, string, and this is what is translated to this input field, and so on. So to add a new subtitle, we just add a new object to this array. It needs a name, and this name is what you will be using in the front-end code. Let's call it subtitle. The data type is a string. It's a simple text string. And the title in the studio should be subtitle. We can also add a description. Keep it short and sweet. And now I will hit save, and the studio will reload with a new field. And we can write some data to it. Notice that when you start typing, it will sync, and this is the real-time syncing to the cloud. And if you go back to the studio that's deployed on Netlify, so this is the studio deployed on Netlify. We go into settings. We can see that we have an unknown field here with the content I just entered. And that's because this studio doesn't have the configuration yet. So to get this subtitle field into the Netlify hosted studio, you have to commit this change to Git and wait for this Netlify studio to rebuild. But before we do that, let's get this field into this front-end code. Let's head back to the web code. And the first thing we have to do is to include the subtitle into the GraphQL query. And we do that by typing in subtitle like this. And then we will have the new subtitle data available in the template. So we can go here. I will just use a paragraph for this. And I will say site.subtitle. And I will save. Now I got an error. And that's because to get new fields and changes in the data model in Gatsby, you have to do two things first. The first thing you have to do is to redeploy Sanity's GraphQL API. And then you have to restart the Gatsby server. So let's do that. I will stop the development server. And I will run a npm script that redeploys the GraphQL API for Sanity. if you just type npm run and hit enter, you will see the available scripts you can use. And we are interested in the GraphQL deploy. So npm run GraphQL deploy. So it deployed nicely, and now we can restart the development server. So it rebuilds the site, and we can go back to the browser and see if it's available for us now. Yeah, so here it is. You can notice that there isn't a subtitle here yet, and that's because I probably haven't published this change to the public API. So if I publish here, I go back to the front end and I can see that the content is already here. And that's because we have enabled something called watch mode. So watch mode will insert all the content changes this front end has access to. And now it's just published content changes, stuff that you published to the API. To give you an example, we can go into blog posts and we can make a new blog post. We have to give it a slug and perhaps a publish date. And let's give it an image. It tells us that we have to add alternative text in order to publish it. So, person looking out on a desert landscape. And if we hit publish, you can see that the change immediately appears here. What's cool with Sanity and Gatsby is that we can have these changes be real-time instantly without even publishing them. And to do that, we have to add a token that lets Gatsby read drafts. And now I will show you how to add that token. So let's create a token. We go to the dashboard and we find the Manage Project link. And we open that. And here we have Manage Sanity IO. And here you can see the resource usage for your project. Building sites with Gatsby backed by Sanity is actually quite frugal. So you only use 2 API calls to build your whole site, no matter how many pages you have. You can see the team. Here you can add more team members as well. You have datasets. If you want some kind of staging dataset, you can add that. And here you have the plan and your quotas, and you can add a credit card to pay as you go on this plan. And then you have the settings and the API settings. And what we are after here is the tokens. So we will create a new token. It only needs read writes, and you should give it a descriptive label to know what it's used for. So let's write Gatsby preview. And this is the only time you get to copy this token. So copy the token and don't share it with anyone. And now you should go back to the code. And in your web folder, you will find a file called .env.development.template. And here you can see that we have made a key called sanity read token, and you can paste this token into this key. And then you have to rename this file. And remove the .template. So it's named .env.development like this. Now we can restart this development server in order to get Gatsby to load this token. So this will build. And then we can go back to the browser and the studio and the blog posts. And I will open this. And we will reload this window just to make sure that we have the changes. And now we should be able to see real-time updates. So that's pretty cool. And you can even go into the image and you can edit the hotspot. And you should be able to see the changes instantly. Like this. You can also add more content, of course. So And to actually get the post on the front page, you have to give it a slug and a publish date, probably like this. And the page will reload when we have additional posts and entries. Give that image as well. Cool. This is real-time watch mode. And what's even cooler is that you can have several people working in the studios at the same time, and they can all see the changes reflected instantly. So this real-time preview only works when you are on local development. And that's because Gatsby is a static site generator. So when it builds on Netlify, it will make those HTML and data files and serve them statically. So you will not have this dynamic update. However, Gatsby has this service called Gatsby Preview, which is a web-based preview service you can sign up for and get the same experience for your editors as well. Now let's get that subtitle and that new field in the studio up and running on Netlify. And we can go back to VS Code, and VS Code has a Git integration. So here we can see all the changes. I will just stage them all, and I will say add subtitle. And then I will push them to the remote GitHub. So now it's pushed, and if we go back to the dashboard, we should see that the Netlify sites are building. It usually takes a couple of minutes before they're done. So now they are done building, and we can go back to the Netlify hosted studio here, and we can refresh and see if the field appears. Now you can even have this local studio here, and you can make changes in the hosted Netlify studio, and you can see that it's real time on both studios. So that's cool. Now we have downloaded the source code locally, we have spun up the projects, we have made some changes and configurations, and we have deployed those back to Netlify again. So now you should explore the other tutorials and guides. You should join the Slack community and show us what you have made, and ask for help if you need that. And I'll see you again somewhere in cyberspace. Thanks for watching.